not matchup this weekend as well.
So we got options. What can we say?
All right, and we are live on YouTube now. Hello, everybody. Thank you for waiting so anxiously to see us on this Monday morning as we stream live every Monday on our YouTube channel. So, again, thank you guys for tuning in. But we didn't want to keep our radio listeners waiting for too long and have you hear a bunch of PSA. So we got the best of both worlds here. That's what happens when we try to do awesome stuff with just the two-person party here in studio. But nonetheless, that's how we do things at Hawaii Sports Radio. And again, congratulations and shout out to UH Baseball head coach Rich Hill as the team improved, more importantly, to 7-1 overall in the season as they keep going and get ready to host Northeastern coming out this morning. A Northeastern team that, they kind of played the Boston Red Sox in like a spring game, which is pretty darn cool. But before we move on to the next series, again, like we said, Saturday, Hawaii coming out with the 4-2 win over Wichita State. And then a big win on Sunday, 7-1 over the Shockers. But this is what head coach Rich Hill had to say following that 100th win that him and the squad got on Saturday to tie the great Les Murakami in the amount of games needed to get to 100 wins.
I mean, that's a hard-fought win. I mean, I know we've had a lot of walk-offs and a lot of heroes, but, that's a regional caliber team, with good pitching. We just kind of stayed with it, all game long. And I thought Cooper Walls, was outstanding. I thought that Zach Tan coming in, getting that ground ball, to get us to the end. Corey Ronan, through all of his stuff, got better as the game went on, and Isaiah Magdalena was lights out. Clutch hit by Zage Lancaster, Ben Ziegler-Namoa, great defense. So just an all-around great game. The best thing about this, I think, is the standing room only crowd, and that's like the old days, so that was pretty cool.
Tonight's 100 victories for you as the head coach at Hawaii. It matches the fastest ever with a guy I think you respect quite a bit, and Les Murakami. Can you talk a little bit about what tonight means, not just for you, but for all the players who have come through over these few seasons as you've gotten your career started here in Hawaii?
It's all about them, and that miracle year we had in year one, the year that Stone hit the walk-off home run against Santa Barbara, last year's, 37 win, basically regional type of team, and, now the start this year. So to be mentioned along with Coach Murakami, that's my favorite thing about this milestone.
For you guys, the way you responded from last night's game, what were your thoughts on that, and after that one got away from it?
Well, I mean, we talk a lot about, learn the lesson, leave the event, and, you got to have amnesia, in the game of baseball, especially, the rhythm of the season. Can't really carry anything over to the next day, good or bad. So we had a good meeting early, and, just talked about some of the things in the game, and our guys came out today with a lot more energy. I don't know if it was a Saturday, they didn't have school or whatever, but, the crowd really had a lot to do with that too. They just electrified our team.
What's going to happen to the 100 ball?
Put it right on my desk, man. Right next to my Shaka sign.
I love that. Put it right next to the Shaka sign, talking about the 100th winning baseball. I guess the one that was used on the final play. And congratulations again. I did want to mention something, kind of like a little sidebar, but not. Just to explain a little bit more of the business operational side for all of the diehard baseball fans. I know Twitter was very, very active over the weekend, considering that the games were not on television on Saturday and Sunday. I know even like former player Scotty Scott was very vocal about it on social media. And I know a lot of people are disappointed, especially considering how good this baseball team is and how much interest there is just in baseball in general here in Hawaii. And of course, when they win, there's even more interest. So unfortunately, not everyone's able to, make it out to the ballpark. It gets a little difficult going into UH, all of that stuff. And it's a lot cheaper to just watch it in the comfort of your home for everyone that has Spectrum. And don't get me wrong, the complaints are valid and I completely understand where everybody's coming from. But just to kind of explain a little bit behind the scenes when it comes to the Spectrum deal, because I know a lot of people were like, oh, well, why do they have to do basketball instead of baseball? And one, the women's basketball team was the one playing on Saturday night, and they were on the winning streak. So, no. If we're going to choose one...
We don't need to take away from this basketball team.
We don't need to take away from this particular women's basketball team on a crazy win streak. I don't care. You can say whatever you want about baseball being more popular here. Fine. But still, no, we got to give these ladies all the plug that they deserve in this basketball team. You know, I'll hear your argument when it comes to the men's basketball team when we get to that segment. But contractually, and this actually stems from like the Big West requirement, they have to make all of the home basketball games, both men and women, available for the streaming. So there is absolutely like no way that even if like the men's team were like 0 and won no games, like there is no possible way that contractually Spectrum would be able to breach that portion because they owe the university via conference contracts and media stuff to make every single basketball game available. That's just the rules. Again, I don't make them, and it's not discounting anybody's complaints about it, but that's the rules are the rules, and that's why they have to forgo doing baseball, and they always have to do basketball games. On top of that, just I hear you guys though, but again, it's like it's unfortunate because they have to do basketball over baseball, and then after that, it becomes a budgetary thing. Hence why there's nothing else going on Sunday, but they have to forego doing the Sunday game as well. That just is a budget thing. Unfortunately, there is so many baseball games, like more than any other sport, essentially, baseball and softball is. And it's just sometimes you just got to cut games. Obviously, the conference games are going to be the more quote unquote important ones. So that's why they kind of got to shift focus on that type of stuff. So again, I understand all of the complaints. I get it, but just a peek behind the curtain in terms of the business side on why they can't stream or they can't broadcast. Spectrum can't broadcast every single game. So I just wanted to share that because I saw a lot of people talking about bumping basketball for baseball, and it's just not going to happen. Like, it's just not. Or else Hawaii could get fined by the Big West, and it's a breach of contract with Spectrum and the university, and there's all kinds of stuff. So I just had to share that. But again, I totally get it because this baseball team rocks and they're so fun to watch. And it's a bummer that Coach Rich Hill's 100th win wasn't on TV and then therefore couldn't be recorded in that sense. So that is a bummer. But unfortunately, that's just the world we live in, and it is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, media rights deals are what they are. It's part of the reason why you're capable of seeing big name players play on Sundays, play on whatever days for professional sports. It's a big reason why college sports have been able to survive in what has been a changing landscape. It is frustrating, I know, but also at times a necessary evil so that the school can pay their bills and whatnot. Like you said, it stinks for the people who really want to see it, some of whom are in this building and this chair maybe even. But at the end of the day, I do understand, and I also like I think you laid it out pretty beautifully. For the certain people, their hands are legitimately tied. They can't do anything else, like even within the Spectrum building. So whatever. Well, that's why you gotta, one, go out as best you can, and two, there are a bunch of media outlets. They'll try and give you as much coverage as possible. I know it's not the same without the visuals, but we're doing our best for you, I promise.
Yeah, and honestly, pretty cool on our YouTube channel. If you guys, I know there's 8 of you that already watched it, but as the ones listening on radio, the post game. So there, we're bringing you kind of like a television thing, at least a post game. We have the video version of Rich Hill talking in the post game on our YouTube channel for everyone that's just tuning in. So be sure to go and check that out if you want to see that or if you just missed it just now. But we're going to take a break. When we come back, we will get into keep the positive train running, and we'll get into some Rainbow Wahine basketball, continuing that win streak. Sam Darnold Jets number 14, just for Paul Brecht, that I type in the little GIF thing on Twitter, and I was like, oh, gotta use this GIF because I think I started with 11. 11 is when I started kind of finding GIFs to post on Twitter every time they increase their win streak, and I was like, ooh, this one is for Paul.
And it was.
Yeah. Gonna take a break. We'll be right back on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
Stuck in traffic? That sucks. Here's why on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network. Aloha and good morning, Honolulu. From the Salem Media Traffic Center, I'm Tyso Braden. Our Monday morning commute starting to get a little bit more busy in town. Traffic is shifting. H1 through Waikele into the H1H2 merge, still a bit slow right near the Cuneo Road area into Waikele. But traffic is improving. Volume is definitely not backing up all the way out towards Quantikai Parkway. And once we get towards the H1H2 merge into Waimalu townbound, start to open up. But Wanalua Freeway is still backed up to the top of Red Hill. H1 Middle Street merge bumper to bumper into Lilihan Ward. H1 Viaduct, and not too bad. And as an alternate route, I mean, it slows into Middle Street merge, but as an alternate route, Nimitz is looking pretty good after Sand Island Access Road. East side commute, we're stop and go from Kahala up over the hill in Kaimuki, Ebbowbound, westbound past UH Manoa. Stop and go on portions of Kalani Anole Highway from Aina Haina, but no accidents or stalls from east or windward Oahu right now.
Here's Dr. Sean Jan Caterino with a heart health tip from Hawaii Pacific Health.
Heart disease is one of the leading causes of death for men and women, but prevention is key to reducing your risk. Take charge of your heart health by maintaining a healthy diet, exercising regularly, and monitoring risk factors like blood pressure, cholesterol, and your family history of heart disease to live healthier.
To learn more, visit Hawaii Pacific.
Wake up in the den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to Wake Up in the Den. Ku'ulei Agbayani and Paul Brecht on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM, AM 760, and hawaiisportsradio.com, and streaming live on our YouTube channel. So be sure to guys like and subscribe as we do every single Monday. Or if you're listening, you can text in at 808-888-KGU1. That's 808-888-5481. As I mentioned, we want to keep the positive train running and get into some Rainbow Wahine basketball as the ladies increased their win streak to 14. Woohoo! After beating the Tritons of UC San Diego 49-44. But, as if they couldn't stress us out, like, towards the end. I mean, thank you very much. They're like, you know what? We are just making this too easy on the fans. And just like how Rich Hill planned to lose on Friday, just so, he could get that 100th win to tie Les Murakami and not beat Les Murakami to the fastest 200. The Rainbow Wahine totally wanted to do that to us too. They're on this winning streak and have been really winning games somewhat convincingly. Sometimes they start off slow, but in the end, you're not stressed. And you know what? They just wanted to do that to us in this game because when you're watching the game, you're like, man, this is like they're just dominating the Tritons. This is so much fun. Like, let's go. And they just didn't want to. They wanted to keep us on our toes, especially a bunch of us that were in the arena. Shout out to you guys. There was a great crowd there on Saturday night. And especially those that maybe stopped in at basketball and then when basketball was done headed over to baseball, because I know a lot of you guys did that as well, including some of our friends. But final score though, Hawaii coming out on top 49-44, but it did start to get a little scary down the stretch because Hawaii, I mean, they were winning all quarters, especially that third quarter, outscored the Tritons 12-4. And then UC San Diego wants to go ahead and make their run. That fourth quarter, UC San Diego winning that quarter, 21-11, to bring that score even closer than it was. But yeah, the main thing is they were able to end that. I know we were getting a little nuts in our corner after the interesting and questionable calls by the referees, but
we're talking about the foul on Lily that she didn't touch her.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, she didn't even come close.
It was crazy.
It was. I mean, that was almost no. That one was worse than the 3-point foul that they called at the end of the Long Beach State game for the men, where the kid kicked his feet out and should have been called for an offensive foul. This one was quite literally the girl in the corner right now. Actually, I think it was right in front of where you were sitting.
Yeah.
just chucks it up over a double team. I think it was Jovi Lafotu next to Lily Wahine Kapu. So you had the sisters right there. And I mean, it wasn't like close.
No.
Like it was a solid about 6 inches away from any type of contact to any type of arm, torso, body. And that almost allowed UC San Diego to make a comeback right at the end. And that, Laura Beeman's better than me because I would have lost my mind, especially after seeing the replay on the big screen. I'll say this. I think I actually texted it in our group chat. I don't think I've ever heard the Boo Birds come out as much as I have this year in basketball here in Hawaii. Like, we talk about how nice Hawaii fans are all the time in the environment and blah, 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 blah. The amount of boos that officials have, and I'm going to use a purposeful word here, earned this season from Hawaii fans is impressive. Like, I understand it's a difficult job. I understand it is, you need the officials and all of these things. At some point, it seems that people lose we still need to keep them to a standard because it's been bad this year. And it's been bad across the board. It's been bad not just in Hawaii games. When I watch on ESPN Plus, these officials are bad. Like, it has been brutal in big moments.
Yeah.
So it's got to stop. Yeah. That's a quick rant. I've been
I got to
waiting
tell
on
you guys
that
a
one.
funny story, though, because we had to keep, so where I sit next to the Toms family, so the parents of former Rainbow basketball player Ashley Toms, and they get just as nuts as we do, and our friend Ben had to go and grab Ashley's mom, Sissy, because she was livid, started stomping her feet towards along
My
the
queen.
baseline.
My
I know,
queen.
and then
I love
we're
her.
like, Ben, grab her, because if there's anything that would make Laura Beeman more upset in a close game, it would be a technical on the home fans. So
I don't think they can get a technical on the home fans. They can ask people out.
I don't know. We'll see. We
the
didn't want to
biggest
risk
would be
it.
administrative
Either way,
technical
yeah.
against the bench, I guess.
Exactly. Either way, it was a close game, so we weren't risking any technicals. But it was kind of funny because she's storming out feet, and she's this tall. She probably comes up to my shoulder when I'm wearing flats.
Well, you
she's
gotta
tiny.
think about Ashley.
She's tiny. Well, her dad is super tall,
but
and then
Ashley is not exactly
she's kind of in the middle. She's maybe my height.
Right. She's an average-sized gal, and if her dad is so big,
but it was the funniest because we're someone grab her, and had to walk her back to the bench. But again, warranted because that was a horrendous call. But nonetheless, Hawaii able to come out with that win again, 49-44 after leading by 15 to end the third quarter. And for those that didn't watch, that's where I'm saying wow, they really wanted to make us feel comfortable and then down the stretch get us a little worried. But to be honest, though, UC San Diego is just such a good team that I was honestly kind of surprised that Hawaii was able to increase and come out with that big of a lead at one point in time. So as much as I kind of joke about they wanted to make it stressful, UC San Diego, though, is a good team. They have good players. There's a reason why Hawaii, it was probably the one game that Hawaii got lucky in the game that they could have potentially lost at UC San Diego if it wasn't for a couple of easy bunnies that were missed by the Tritons in that game at UCSD. So they're a good team. And this is actually the kind of, when you look at the final score, this is the score that I would have imagined it to be anyways. You're going to feel like it's going to be no more than a 10-point win in either direction, whichever way it ended up. But so Hawaii leading by that much, again, by 15 at the end of the third was kind of surprising. But there were some mistakes and there were a bunch of stuff. But kind of like what Coach Beeman said in her media avail last week, and it's true, right? They're not even playing their best basketball, which is crazy.
We saw that in this one.
Yeah, they're making a lot of mistakes. It was brutal to watch some of the things that, they're missing easy layups and everything like that. So it's a whole thing. But before we kind of go into it a little bit more, as we are getting way ahead of ourselves, because we should probably let you hear from what Coach Beeman had to say after the game. But, so this is going to be the post-game with head coach Laura Beeman, and alongside her, she has Imani Perez and Kelsey Imai. And it actually starts with her response to how they cope with games where they miss a lot of layups like they did in this situation, and why plus her initial thoughts on a somewhat ugly game, as we said, but their defense doing it again. So here is what Coach Beeman and Imani and Kelsey had to say following Saturday's win.
That is the way we play. We play fast. And when you play fast, you shorten up your layups, and that's why we miss so many layups. Because, Amani's drive at the beginning, it was gorgeous. I don't know why that ball didn't go in. That was probably the most under control, just smooth, pretty shots. The rest of them were just turn and throw it, or get my hand up there and I don't want the contact, or someone's coming. Those layups were missed for a reason, and we work a lot on, popping the pad, finishing layups with contact. But when your whole energy is playing fast, it's hard to then slow it down on that shot. That's why we miss those. Our overall offense isn't real good at times. We don't share the ball. We get real stuck. Tonight it was a magnet to have to go inside. And everybody from UC San Diego was collapsing inside. The ball should have gone outside, and we would have wide open shots. Then they have to make an adjustment, then we could go back inside. But we were just staring it down, and all of a sudden 3-4 players were coming into our bigs, and we were passing our bigs into turnovers all night long. For whatever reason, a little tunnel vision. That goes back to UC San Diego, how well they're coached, how well they prepare. Their execution is phenomenal. I have nothing but the utmost respect for what Heidi Vanderveer has done with that program. She comes ready with her team to play every night. They had a really, really good game plan. Not everybody in our conference can execute that kind of game plan. But for us, it gives us film, and I'm going to use that word again, for growth. Because if a team tries to do it, we need to be able to get that ball to the outside and let our bigs just be decoys, rebound, do the other amazing things they do. Yeah, our defense is on point right now. These guys have absolutely made a commitment to what we know we need to do on the defensive side of the ball. I think our biggest challenge right now is the stat line that we just talked about. We cannot turn the ball over that many times, particularly at the beginning of the contest, and giving up 9 offensive boards in the first half. And then our free throw shooting 12 for 22. It's working for us right now because our defense is holding. If you get a team, though, that gets hot, that becomes really scary. And we're just leaving too many points on the floor and off the board by those turnovers and by not hitting our free throws. So here's the positive with that. Number one, yes, we're still winning. But number two, it gives us such great room for growth. We can't look at a stat sheet and say, well, where are we going to stretch these guys? Where are we going to grow these guys? How do we continue to win? There's a lot here for them to look at and go, oh my gosh. And so we've got room to grow, and that's what you want to be doing this time of the year. And I think that we still have, obviously, a lot of areas that we can do that in.
Do you guys feel, good that you won another game, or does any part of the last few minutes kind of change the way you felt about the game, or, yeah?
I would say, it's nice having another win under our belt, but still there is, like Coach B said, room to grow. I mean, we still have, the stat line stuff that we need to fix, get better at, and then, honestly, if we fix that, it'll be just a whole different ball game.
Meilani went off for, I think, all 11 of her points in the second quarter there, and when she gets going like that, what does that do for your guys' offense and just kind of the flow that you guys kind of get into?
It's exciting. We always tell May that she needs to hunt for her shot. Sometimes she's very passive with it, but if May feels good, it's going in. So main thing is just being very positive with her and keeping her confident.
You've been pretty vocal about being confident in your teammate breaking the three-point record. She became the second Rainbow Wahine to hit 200 in a career tonight. Just kind of talk a little bit more about her as she comes down the stretch with that.
Meilani works really hard. She always has. And it's just, I don't know a person that's more deserving to break a record than Meilani, because she does so much things behind the scenes. She works hard on her own game, and she does so much for our team and keeps the locker room really healthy. So kudos to May.
There's still a lot of basketball left. And we have 4 regular season games and then a tournament. And so that's a whole lot of basketball. We have not wrapped this thing up yet, and hopefully we can do that on the road. But, it's taking first place would be nice. If we were to win the tournament, that would be great. But we have expectations beyond that. And so, we look at 4 regular season games plus hopefully 2 in the conference tournament, and then hopefully more than that. We've got to continue to find ways to win and clean up the things that we need to clean up. So it's for as few games as it feels, we're hoping that we still could have a lot of basketball left.
And that was UH women's basketball head coach Laura Beeman alongside Imani Perez and Kelsey Imai, following their nice, I was going to say comfortable, but not so comfortable win on Saturday over UC San Diego, 49-44, to increase their winning streak to 14. All right, going to take a break. When we come back, we will continue our women's basketball conversation on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to all of you, the beautifulest of all the beautiful people. It's Wake Up in the Den alongside Paul Brecht. I'm Ku'ulei Agbayani. Mahalo for tuning in this and every weekday morning on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM, AM 760, and hawaiisportsradio.com, and streaming live as we are right now on our YouTube channel and every single Monday. So we appreciate all of you, and that is why you are the beautifulest of all the beautiful people. And of course, shout out to a couple of our regular watchers slash live chat commenters. Hello to Scott, season ticket holder for both women's basketball and baseball. So I'm sure
for your support.
Yeah, he was someone that did the 2 games in one evening on Saturday, starting off at women's basketball, and good vibes only after that win, and walking on over to the Les Murakami. I think when the basketball game ended, I want to say it was the 6th inning. So the beer stand could have possibly still been open when you went over to baseball, and then got that win with Rich Hill and his 100th win as Hawaii skipper. And then, of course, our friend Caesar, but he's late. So, yeah, I don't know. Who would be late on Monday?
Late on a Monday? Certainly not me. Glad Caesar could make it. I'm sure that me being late today had nothing to do with him being late today. But no, thank you guys so much for joining us today, this and every Monday on YouTube, and any other day that you join us, maybe just on our stream on the radio. We always appreciate you tuning on in, because we don't have jobs without you guys listening. Otherwise, we're just kind of talking into a void. So glad to have you guys here with us, keeping the conversation rolling along. And right now we're talking, Rainbow Wahine basketball, and with you did the smart thing and sent us to break before we went way past the clock. So
we had to take a quick break and kind of wrap up our women's basketball conversation, as again, Hawaii coming out on top 49-44 to increase their winning streak to 14 and remain alone at the top of the Big West Conference, and hoping to close out the season with the regular season win, or the regular season championship, and then go into the tournament, and hopefully, as Coach Beeman said, play until April. That she said that. She's like, I'm just going to say that. We're going to keep playing until April. But I still go back to the fact that, Hawaii is not playing their best basketball. And at first you initially feel bad for saying that because they win, but I'm like, hey, Coach Beeman said it too, so I can double down on what she said. I mean, when you take a look at the final box, Hawaii is shooting 31% from the field, and we talked about it before we went to break. This isn't like they were taking difficult shots. It was just like easy layups that they kept missing, and Coach Beeman said part of that is because they play fast, and I get that. Sometimes you just your feet go a little too quickly ahead of you and whatnot. So, but I mean, if they just clean that up a little bit, I mean, when you look at even the rebounding, kudos to UC San Diego. I mean, Hawaii only getting 7 O boards, so not giving the Rainbow Wahine a lot of second chance opportunities. So again, UC San Diego, they're one of the top teams in the conference for a reason. But Hawaii, I mean, just when you think about it, and then you had Lili Wahine Kapu leading Hawaii with 13 points. Meilani McBee not far behind with 11, including 3 3-pointers made. Lily with 2, Imani had 1, and Jovi had 1 as well. So this team, even though they're not playing their best, still able to come out with the wins, and a lot of that, as we can go back to, is just their defense. I mean, their defensive set is very, very difficult, and we've talked about that before, and Coach Beeman has. But once the team locks in and knows how to run the defense, and everyone does it how it's supposed to be, this is the result that you get, where the offense maybe isn't flowing, the shots aren't falling, but as long as, I mean, the old school saying, right, defense wins championships. So as long as they're continue to hold really good teams like UC San Diego and prevent them from scoring, this is the result. And to see all of this stuff come together, and imagine if, like, they figure out the offensive side, not missing bunnies. Maybe Meilani McBee has an even hotter night from shooting. I mean, threes, like 50% from 3-point is like, that's anything over that is like bonus. It's kind of gravy. But I mean, man, this team, we said it before. We always say it going into the season, Paul, like, this team is nasty. And to think that they still need to get better on offense, I mean, that's pretty darn good.
Yeah, it's exciting to see where this team could go, right? Because you sit here and you think about how elite the defense has been, not just against the lower tier of teams in the Big West, but throughout the regular season. I mean, we saw against UCLA for an entire half that the Rainbow Wahine could compete, and that was without Ritoria Tamilo in that game, anchoring the defense inside the paint. We've seen them compete against top teams. We've seen them go against a high-quality San Diego State squad throughout the non-conference side of things. They lost by 2 there, right? A Portland team that they opened the season with. I checked on their record the other day. Do you know what the Portland Pilots are right now?
No.
They're 26-3. Okay, that was the team that Hawaii started their year off. All right, I've named a few of the losses that they have. They're all against really good teams, and this is getting into a conversation we'll have to have on another day. But not having those victories is going to end up hurting the Bows when it comes to seeding if they do end up making the NCAA tournament. I don't know if that's as much, or if that matters as much to anyone other than who they're going to be playing. And the reason I say that is because of what we're talking about right now, right? The defense has been so phenomenal, where Saturday, they hold a team who is a top 4 team in the Big West Conference, had won 3 of their last 4 games. Through 3 quarters, they were shooting 18% from the field, Koo. They were 9 of 50 from the floor. That was insane. It was insane. That's why you were sitting there, and it's like, after 3 quarters, you're up 15, and you're like, now wait a second here. I expect this against some teams, but UC San Diego, like you mentioned, was a team that you needed every little bit and break while you were at their place to beat them. This time, it seemed like it wasn't that, and then obviously the fourth quarter, sputtering from the free throw line a little bit, the turnovers continue, and that's where we get into the conversation of why it can be scary for the opponent of the Rainbow Wahine in the first round should they make the NCAA tournament, because the defense has shown it can travel, right? It can go anywhere. It's on the continent. It's here in the islands. I don't care. They're going to play some real damn good defense. But we've seen Meilani McBee can get hot from 3. Can she do that for 2 quarters instead of maybe just the 1? Can Lily Wahine Kapu continue to do what we've seen her do and just be that engine that, gives you maybe 4 points per quarter? Kelsey Imai has been phenomenal for the last month. She's been great for the full year, but really since she came back from injury and really after a few games of getting her legs back under her from injury, she has been second best guard behind Lily Wahine Kapu, and that's saying something with Mia Uhila, who has been phenomenal, who is now working her way back. She returned this past weekend, and can you see a little bit better shooting from down low? Ritoria Tamilo, she's getting to the point in the year where we say, oh, she's not a freshman anymore, right? Where you've gone through the full season. Can she take that next step right before the Big West tournament, before the actual tournament? Because at 6'5", if she starts to finish some of those, a couple of post touches, turn, face, finish, then all of a sudden that's 6, 8, 10 more points for the Rainbow Wahine. And what's to say that that's not the difference between a first-round upset and going home in the first round of the NCAA tournament? So a long-winded way of saying, yeah, this team's not playing their best basketball yet on both sides of the floor. On defense, they're playing great. They're basically as good as you can ask. Offensively, the turnovers are unacceptable. I think that is a fair word to use at this point, because this is far too good a team to just be giving away points to others. The shooting will get better. That's not something that they can control as much. And the free throw shooting, that I know it makes you a little angry. It makes me even angrier. And I got to imagine it makes them on the team the angriest. So I expect that to be better down the stretch. 4 more games, got to finish it out. And then all of a sudden we're off to Henderson, Nevada, trying to win or clinch, I guess, a bid into the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, and speaking of the latest bracketology via ESPN.com, updated a few days ago, but no movement there for Hawaii. They still find themselves at the 15 seed in the Spokane region and matched up against number 2 seed USC. And in that region, the number 1 seed would be South Carolina. So that's another. So South Carolina gets the 1. Your number 1 seeds, according to the bracketology, the most recent one, you got UCLA, Texas, Notre Dame, and South Carolina would be your number 1 seeds, and what you would find themselves in region 4 Spokane again, and currently still matched up with the number 2 seed USC. But hopefully, maybe the committee and whoever seeds them, obviously they're going to automatically qualify in this outlook and the bracketology because they're projected to win the Big West Conference tournament, getting them in. But yeah, hopefully they can find themselves a little bit higher. If they were landing on the 14, they would be matched up with Duke, according to this. And then if somehow they ended up going up a little bit more and the 13 is probably the highest they would go. 13 would be Kansas State at this point. And to be honest, like I feel like any Duke or Kansas State would be a lot better of a matchup than this juggernaut of a USC women's basketball team led by arguably the best player right now in women's college basketball. So fingers crossed that the powers that be will see. Well, one, of course, you got to win the tournament first. But when they do, hopefully they will understand that this team warrants a higher seed than that 15 seed that they're currently projected in right now. But you know what? This is only bracketology, so that's just the outlook. You know, like, hey, still got to get there. If they win the tournament convincingly, you know what I mean? Like if they breeze through all their opponents, if the offense shows up in Henderson, if they don't miss those layups, if they make all their free throws, and all of a sudden the margin of the win margin increases, and maybe that will stand out enough to the people putting it accordingly and be like, maybe this team is way better than everybody else in the conference, so they warrant being moved up slightly more. But we'll see. For now, it is going to be USC. All right, going to take a break. When we come back, we will close out our number one with we got to talk about it. We got to talk about it. I'm sorry, Paul.
I don't want to.
I'm sorry, Paul. We got to talk about it. We'll close out this hour talking about the flip side and the University of Hawaii men's basketball game at UC San Diego, in which the Rainbow Warriors suffered their biggest margin of defeat ever in the Big West. And I think when we looked in the record books, the largest margin of defeat under head coach Aron Ganat. So we'll be right back on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to Wake Up in the Den. Kule Agbayani and Paul Brecht on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM, AM 760, and hawaiisportsradio.com. All right, we're talking a lot about the women's basketball team, but unfortunately, we do have to rip the Band-Aid off and get to the men's team. Got to be somewhat equal, I guess. Hawaii falling on the road 83-44 at UC San Diego. Now, I know we give UC San Diego a lot of credit in terms of there's a reason why they are the top team in the Big West. They're just a complete team. They play really good basketball, and really pretty basketball. And you know what? They make a lot of 3-point shots. At least against Hawaii, they do 13 for 27 from long distance. The Tritons were, but I mean, Hawaii. This was the crazy thing about this Hawaii game, right? Like, how many times do we talk about the turnovers that Hawaii has? And actually, this was a game that they didn't turn over the basketball as much as they have in the past. Still double digits, still turned it over 12 times. But then you just look at just not being able to finish the basketball. 15 for 56 from the field for a 26% field goal percentage, only making 5 of 23 3-point shots, 9 for 13 from the free throw line, and it was just ugly. I mean, they just were playing lost a majority of the time, and as much credit as you want to give UC San Diego because they are a solid team,
absolutely deserve something.
You can't lose by that type of margin against a team in conference. Again, when we look at the UH basketball record book, the largest margin of defeat by far in the Big West. And it seems to be, right, correct me if I'm wrong, the largest margin of defeat under head coach Eran Ganot to any school.
To my knowledge, yes.
Yeah, like even when you play UNC, like all the P4 type of schools, all of that stuff, Hawaii has never lost by this much. And part of that is like, hey, Hawaii will keep chipping away. Some of the other top schools will start to sub out some of their main guys, and that's how you can kind of close up the margin. But nonetheless, I mean, it was unfortunate. Fortunately for me, I will leave this conversation and the takeaways to mostly Paul because I was so enjoyably distracted during the men's game because I was out celebrating at my uncle's 80th birthday party. Woo! Yeah, my happy birthday celebration to my uncle Ronald Cachola. We were out celebrating his birthday again. The big 8-0 by all accounts had a lot of fun, and I'm sure there's a few people listening that probably do know my uncle. He's a pretty popular guy. He got a lot of Farrington grad friends that were there. A lot of his friends that he used to work with and stuff. So shout out to Uncle Ronald. But fortunately I had to go and partake in that, hang out with family, and my eyeballs did not have to suffer entirely watching this game. Just keeping track of the score, of course, and seeing the text messages come through with Michael and Paul. But yeah, Paul, here you go. What are your? I don't know where you would want to start with this, but I kind of set the stage in terms of the box score stuff. But yeah, go on with your bad self and your takeaways from what you witnessed in this loss.
This is a tough one. I've had a couple of days to try and piece together some thoughts, and I still am kind of struggling to do it. We had a texter text in this. Once again, you can get in on the conversation at any time at 808-888-KGU1. That's 808-888-5481. They said men's basketball don't know how to describe. Thought they'd make a run. Instead, they got ran out of SD San Diego. It's succinct. It's straight to the point. I don't really know how to describe it because, early on in this game, I was a little bit encouraged. I thought Tanner Christensen was answering the bell. I thought his physicality was nice to begin the game. I didn't think UC San Diego really had an answer for it. Picked up a quick foul on a Niwa Tate Jones, a 5-4 lead, and that was the only lead that Hawaii would hold the entire evening. From there, we saw the droughts once again, a 12-0 run before Gitas Nemishka finally snaps that with a free throw, and then before he can get the second free throw off, a lane violation on a teammate. So you don't get the second point from that, and then you give up a 12-1 run, and then at that point, the game's over. The game is over at that point. And when you score 17 points in the first half, the game ends then. I don't think I've done this season, and I don't recommend it, but any of you beautiful people can go back and check my Twitter/X account or whatever. I stopped tweeting after halftime.
That bad.
I didn't give updates because there was nothing to update. They went down by 40 at one point in this game. They end up losing by 39. That's tied for the 7th worst loss in program history. It's the biggest loss in Big West program, since joining the Big West. I really don't know what to say because nobody really played it particularly well. I guess Ryan Rapp did. Ryan has continued to be like a pretty good soldier throughout this whole thing. He plays hard on defense. He attacks the rim hard, but this was two very clearly different teams in different tiers. You have one team who is making the national name for themselves. In my opinion, that is a top 25 team in the country. That is one of the best teams in the country. Defensively, offensively, they can do whatever. I'll also say this. Their white guys can shoot. They can. Every single one of them. They step out on the floor and they knock down threes. Hawaii made less shots from the floor in the first half than UC San Diego made from long distance. UC San Diego, from long distance, was beating the living snot out of them. They didn't even need the 2-point range.
Yeah, and to reiterate that point that you just made, when you look at the final box, UC San Diego making 13 from long distance, and Hawaii's total from the field for the entire game was 15. So just a couple more shots, and that's kind of to emphasize Paul's point where, yeah, the first half was just as brutal, but as a whole, like, man, that's... Ugh.
So the stat that I was looking for, and I was trying to bloviate a little bit so I could get there. In the first half, Hawaii was 6 of 32 from the floor. That's 18.8% shooting, okay? UC San Diego was 9 of 13 from distance. I don't know what to say because it's weird. Because this has never happened before under Ganat. And I understand all the people who are like, oh, they play a boring offense or whatever. This was a team that checked out.
Mm-hmm.
They lost early on, and then they checked out about 10 minutes into this game. That's embarrassing. That's like, yeah, the coaches need to make sure that your players are doing that, but at the end of the day, if you're not out there ready to play, if you're not there willing to fight or whatever, like, what's the point? What was the point? What was the point of showing up for the second half? It was 42-17 at halftime. That is a high school score between probably Punahou and some poor school that just scraped together a team. Because you know why I feel comfortable saying that? Because that was my team before. I once had a team with 7 total players on it. I've seen that score before. It's demoralizing. It sucks. I feel bad for the coaches. I feel bad for the players because I don't have an answer and I'm on the outside looking in. And most times you don't have the full picture in that point. So you can kind of create fun solutions. I can't come up with one for you guys. It's been brutal. I thought they'd make a run. Now I'm just kind of hoping that they can hold on to their spot in the Big West tournament.
Yep, that's what we're all hoping for at this point. All right, going to take our break. When we come back, we will go back over to the positive side and maybe get you updated with some UH men's volleyball. Also got some high school boys basketball updates for you coming up in hour number 2. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
Dialing Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to Wake Up in the Den, hour number 2. I'm Ku'ulei Agbayani alongside Paul Brecht on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM, AM 760, and hawaiisportsradio.com, and streaming live on our YouTube channel. So be sure to go over there if you guys can and like and subscribe. Get involved in the live chat, or you guys can text us at 808-888-KGU1. That's 808-888-5481. And we appreciate all of you guys for tuning in or watching or whatnot, or listening on demand, all that kind of stuff, as we are rocking and rolling here on HSRN. All right, I want to go back to the positive side. We had no choice. We had to talk about it a little bit. We might talk about it a little bit more coming up in this hour, but want to go back to the positive side from men's basketball and going over to men's volleyball. A team that, also came out with wins. No surprising, as they were on the road to, play other teams. Wonder if those teams had their A teams or the B teams on there. That was nasty work.
So crazy.
Who was handling the social media on there?
Crazy. Whatever.
It's one of those things that you just don't say it
it's
out
funny
loud.
because it's true. Like, I understood it was true, and it's like, yeah, our B side, yeah. That's so crazy. That's so crazy to be like, yeah, our backups just beat the snot out of these guys' starters. You guys see that?
So that's what we're talking. It was one of the social media posts from the official. I think it was the men's volleyball account, and then it was like, one for the B team, and it was like, oh, we already knew Hawaii was going to beat these teams. Like, everything had to go completely wrong for Hawaii to have lost any of these games.
I honestly
4
couldn't
games on the
believe
road.
that Hawaii lost the set yesterday, or 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Like, it was one of those things where
But
I
think it was
expected
like,
the dominance.
they were still hitting like insane.
They
but
were
it was like
still
500.
dominant.
Yeah, but nonetheless, Hawaii winning on the road. They played 4 games, a couple against Queens, and then one against Belmont Abbey, and then Catawba College. I think that's how you say it.
Catawba.
Catawba. They swept both Belmont Abbey and Queens the first time, and then Catawba they beat in 4, and also Queens the second time around in 4. But this was a good chance, though, as we see, and a lot of these players were able to get a lot of reps. I mean, you have that game, one of the games against Catawba. It's so weird. I don't know what it is.
It actually reminds me that I need to have you read some upstate New York towns for me after the show, just to see, because that's my payback for all the Hawaii schools, towns, and all this stuff that I've been trying to learn. It's just fun to listen to. Anyway.
But one of those games, you have like Kainoa Wade being the kills leader in that game.
Guy stinks.
Yeah,
No,
18 kills. You had Clay Weeder work his way back in there, get a lot more playing time in that. He had 14 kills. Also, Finn Kearney, he was someone that, he usually would tend to come in as kind of like the serving specialist for a lot of the higher competition games where we see him come in, but in terms of getting regular playing time, he hasn't been in there that often. Of course, we've seen Justin Todd get worked in, but Justin Todd is someone that also gets worked in with the A team. I guess is the best way to say it. So that was good. It was a good road trip for Hawaii for some of these younger and newer players to get that experience. Obviously, you still had some of your other guys in there like Christian and Louis and
these
Adrian.
Guys are the B side. Like, some of these guys are the B side, right? Because they'd start for all but 10 colleges in the country.
Yeah.
That's like me being pretty.
Yeah.
It's being kind, because like the backups once again for Hawaii, I always feel weird saying that, because the reserves, that's the term that I typically use, is the reserves.
Yeah, because sometimes you see, like I said, you see players like a Justin Todd who could get worked into kind of like the first team, depending on how Kurt Neusterer was kind of getting back completely healthy, right? You saw Justin Todd get worked in there, and some of the other guys having an off day, or Christian Tetrisky when he's having one of those games where he's a little erratic. You'll have Kainoa Wade kind of come in to
Louis
prevent
went from
the errors. Yeah.
Pretty much out of it to now he plays over Clay, and it's like, it's not because Clay magically just forgot how to play volleyball, right? He's still a quality volleyball player. He's still a guy who was pretty effective in the first few matches of the season. Like, that's a really nice veteran reserve piece to have on your bench. So it's very, very cool to see them get an actual opportunity to play once again, because in some of these higher leverage matches that they play, especially at home, especially the one that we're about to see, or the two that we're about to see against UC Irvine, you can see rotations start to tighten up a little bit, close up a little bit. That's not because these guys can't play volleyball, but it's because you need to have every little thing going correctly. You can't have guys trying to work their way through, whereas against the Catawba, who is continuing to grow their men's volleyball program, you're able to give some of your younger players some opportunity. You're able to give some of the guys who have been good soldiers for your program and kind of worked on that B side and made it so that the starters have been so good that, and as good as they are, it's a reward back to them. That's part of the reason you love to see trips like this. This is also something that Charlie Wade has talked about before, where they will play the non-brand name men's volleyball schools, and he thinks it's incredibly important to growing the game in general, and it's why I continue to appreciate seeing them not just talk about it, but be about it, right? And be in practice, go and not just have them come across the country 5,000 miles to come play in Hawaii, which I'm sure they would really love to do in February. As an East Coast person, I can tell you. Anyway, they go to their gym, and they're playing there. They play at Queens. They play against Catawba in North Carolina. Like, these are really cool opportunities for those programs while still providing a really great chance for the reserves, for the depth on your team who knows, you may need later. We saw last year, unfortunately, injuries do happen in men's volleyball, and they can happen.
And sicknesses, as we've seen this season.
They can happen at the worst times. They can happen very randomly, and you need somebody ready to step up, ready to go. And it's hard to do that when all you get are practice reps. So nice to see them get some live ball, live match reps.
Yeah, and this is the big week, everybody. If in case you weren't already aware, Hawaii welcomes in the number 2 team in the conference, or in the country, and actually on the 2 team, I guess if we were to do a conference standings, right now there would be a UC Irvine coming into town this Friday and Sunday for a pair of matches, 7 p.m. on Friday and 5 p.m. on Sunday, and this will be one of the bigger true tests for Hawaii. I am not taking anything away from Stanford, Hawaii's lone loss when they lost to Stanford in 4, but you're talking not only just a quality men's volleyball team, but also just the built-in rivalry, and it's the first Big West game of the season, which is kind of weird because this is a very early, it's kind of reminiscent to Bold Week with basketball, where they're playing a conference opponent really, really early, and then next week they'll play Lindenwood, and then they go into the Outrigger Invitational before they start up the bulk of the Big West Conference season. So UC Irvine coming into town again, the number 2 ranked team in the country. But then when you're looking at some of the top teams, obviously you have Long Beach State at the very, very top, and then UC Irvine, UCLA, and Hawaii. When you look at some of the results that happened recently, actually, UC Irvine getting beat by UCLA most recently. They got swept in one game, lost in 5 in the other, but then Long Beach State, to their credit, they were able to beat UCLA. So Long Beach State probably the clear number 1 at this point, just because now they've kind of had similar matches against the other top teams. But this will be Hawaii's first opportunity to face a team that is ranked higher than them in the AVCA Men's College Volleyball poll. So again, Long Beach State able to beat UCLA in 4 sets in one game and swept them in another game, holding tight to what will likely be that number 1 ranking. And fortunately for the Rainbow Warriors, again, you get your first true test against UC Irvine coming into town, and then maybe by the time we play Long Beach State, it'll be a little while between UC Irvine and Long Beach State. Long Beach State is actually the second to the last conference opponent. Fortunately for Hawaii fans, it is going to be here at home as well, but that'll be all the way in April. So we got some time, again, that big gap between the 2 opponents, but focus, of course, on UC Irvine first. And I mean, if we weren't expecting like a sellout for men's volleyball, I really hope we get that this weekend. Again, Friday, especially Friday. I know that's the kind of the game day when everybody wants to go out. So Friday evening, UC Irvine. And the good thing is Sunday, as they always do with Sunday matches, it's a little earlier. So at least 5 o'clock, you're not having to stay out. If it goes to 5, you're not like leaving the arena after 10 o'clock and have to wake up for work on Monday. It's a 5 o'clock match. So I can imagine. I mean, can you oh my gosh, I just can't wait, because now, like I said, the true test, that Stanford game, they can shake that off. Had just kind of a good reset on the road, come back, and a lot of their starters, like we say, like their main rotation players, got a significant amount of rest ahead. So it's almost like a unofficial bye week for a lot of the players that do have a lot on their legs, right? Like they kind of got a chance to essentially get in there, like have some meaningful practice, I guess the lack of a better way to describe it, on the road, but at least you're still in game and everything like that. But now they come back and get ready to play UC Irvine, and whew, this is gonna see, that's exactly the sentiment, because again, but they are clearly beatable. So that's the thing. Long Beach State, like I said, is kind of the clear number one best men's volleyball team in the country right now, just considering who they were able to beat and the only undefeated team at the moment. But Irvine was able to fall, and yeah, here we go, able to fall to UCLA. So they're going to want to make sure they don't do that again by falling to a opponent that is ranked lower than them on the college men's volleyball poll. So this is going to be that's a juggernaut of a schedule there for Irvine. They played UCLA. Well, before that, they played USC. They won against USC 1-5 in one game, swept them in another game, played UCLA. This is pretty cool since it's a California school. Like one game is at home, one game is on the road at the other school.
Home and home.
Yeah, so that's pretty neat how that's worked out. So we're able to, or lost both to UCLA, and then now they're coming over to Hawaii before they kind of play same thing, like a few games. They have a Pepperdine, Sacred Heart, Damon, and George Mason before they turn around and have to play Long Beach State. So this is going to be a very, very fun pair of matches this weekend, and I can't wait.
Yeah, a fun pair of weekend matches, a pair of well-timed matches as well. We've talked a little bit. I know our Michael Oscaro thought that Hawaii could certainly learn from the loss that they suffered against Stanford. And, I almost in a similar way feel like that towards this series, where would I like to beat Irvine both times? Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But if you end up splitting, that's fine, right? Because you learn so much about yourself in that. And realistically speaking, if you lose the first night and you win the second night, that's what makes me feel great, is because then I watch and I see, okay, you can make adjustments. You see night over night, where were we weak against them the first time? I don't want you to get swept, obviously. I think that would be bad for Hawaii. Bad is like the wrong term, because obviously they're not expected to win. You play the team who's better or whatever.
Well, I would say more experienced.
Right, whatever. But this comes at a really good time. Comes before the Outrigger Classic, or Invitational, pardon me, that always is a juggernaut of a tournament. I think this year you got, USC, Ball State, and some real heavy hitters once again coming in on there before you get right into your conference play. I'm excited for these. It's important. You go against one of the best players in the country, if not the best player in the country, right? Is that?
Yeah.
Is
Heno.
I just want to make sure I was going to Hilaire Heno, who
although I think Long Beach State, right, I think has not to take anything away from our guy Tread, but I think it's their setter at Long Beach State that is some incredible talent.
I would imagine both the teams who are ranked above Hawaii in the Big West probably have the players who are amongst the best in the entire nation. But no, this is a juggernaut UC Irvine team, and now we're really going to see how good and how mature these young bows are, right? Because Charlie Wade doesn't want us to use that term, doesn't want us to coin them as this young team because they're young only in class. Well, we'll see their different type of class in this one, what class they are, what tier they are at this point in the season. It's an excellent measuring stick pair of matches, I should say, here to close out February and start March for the Rainbow Warriors.
All right, gonna take a break. Oh, I forgot to switch the camera too. Oh, okay. Oh, well. Sorry, I
just
down.
be talking.
Switch it back to myself. Where's the producer in here? Not switching over the camera.
Still see me, I think. Probably.
All right, gonna take a break. When we come back, we will completely switch it up, take a quick hiatus during this hour from our sports talk and get into some high school stuff and talk some high school boys basketball and let you hear from Punahou head basketball coach Darren Matsuda and one of their players in Dane Keller and what they had to say following that a big win over St. Louis to topple the kings of high school basketball and prevent the four-peat. Sorry, not sorry, I'm sure they were saying to Pupu Sepulona without having to close out his high school career with all state championships in boys basketball. But I know it's so crazy. We'll be right back on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
Back to more Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to Wake Up in the Den. Ku'ulei Agbayani and Paul Brecht on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network and streaming live on our YouTube channel like we do this in every Monday and sometimes sporadically throughout the week. But Mondays, you can always look forward to listening and watching us on our YouTube channel. Shout out to, I think, maybe a first-time messenger in the live chat. I don't remember seeing this before, but Oz from Sunnydale, first time watching this live stream in your new studio. The studio looks fantastic. Thank you so much, Oz. And this is actually not even it yet because we still have to put up. I know
the journey is just
begun.
We
still have to put up more panels in back of where I sit, and then once those panels go up, we'll start to have our flags and everything up there, and we'll probably start to put some more flags on the entrance part. And
I was gonna say, I feel like we gotta block up the windows a little bit more.
Yeah, I still have to put up our endless summer poster that was up in our old studio. That has to go up somewhere. Adds a little pop of like the pink and the yellow, if you guys are familiar with that movie poster. I like having that up just because it adds a little splash of color and a little girly color, I guess you can say. One thing that we do have up, you guys can't see it, but it's on the side, is the Rainbow Wahine soccer schedule that we had up in our old studio from this past week. And we couldn't obviously bear ourselves to, well, we had to like carefully like peel off because the sticky thing we used.
I wish you guys took a video.
We had to like peel it off carefully because I don't know if there was extra lying around at UH, but I didn't want to like risk it because
just in case.
It was just such a great season, so we couldn't throw it away, and like we're trying not to rip it so that we could put it up in our studio. So we have the Rainbow Wahine soccer schedule from this past Big West season because regular season champs. Shout out to the Rainbow Wahine, and I was able to actually like go to Brotherhood Sisterhood Grinds on Saturday morning, which was pretty cool to talk to some of them. Got to know Bryn Mitchell a little bit. Obviously, she just finished her final year, but was able to come and hang out at the Brotherhood Sisterhood Grinds. But that was pretty cool. So just a little fun sidebar story and moving our studio. But thank you for thinking that it looks awesome when we're not even done yet, because we got to put up. It has to feel more of like our sports studio side with just like I said, our team flags up or pennants and all of that stuff up. But thank you for noticing anyways.
And thanks for commenting, too. We appreciate any of you guys who do get in on the conversation, chatting away just like that. Of course, our friend Caesar always making sure the conversation continues on. So, no, very fun, and still plenty more to talk about here in hour number 2. So if you want to get in on the conversation, shoot us a text, get in on the conversation in the YouTube chat, or, just talk to us sometime, shoot us a message on social media, whatever it may be.
Woo. All right, want to get into some high school boys basketball updates as that happened last week Friday. 2 new state champions were crowned, or I guess newer, at least in Punahou's case, but Division 2 new state champions crowned in Seabury. They beat Hawaii Prep 49-33 to win their first state championship in Division 2. So shout out to the Seabury Hall. And in Division 1, though, that was kind of like the big story. I mean, I guess in some ways in quote unquote upset, I guess you can say, as St. Louis. I mean, we're looking for that 4P, including Pupu Sepulona, one of the best basketball players in the state. I mean, it's incredible how he can move the way that he does, considering his size and stature, right? Like, he's just like moves so beautifully on the basketball court, his spin moves and everything. Probably a reason why he's such a phenomenal football player.
I'm gonna say, I gotta imagine he's going to Utah, right? I gotta imagine the University of Utah appreciates the fact that he's a multi-sport athlete, and the footwork, I'm sure, especially as a defensive lineman or just one of those bigger guys, like you mentioned, he does not move like that. It's almost like he has a dancing background at times, where he is capable. His balance is good. The ability to get shots off. It's very, very impressive. He's an impressive athlete, and there's a reason he's a Division I athlete, Yep, and fortunately for the Buff and Blue, though, they were able to spoil the senior year in terms of basketball for Pupu Sepulona and the St. Louis Crusader, because the Buff and Blue coming out on top 43-40 on Friday night to win the Division I state championship this year, and under head coach Darren Matsuda, who has coached Punahou to a couple of state championships previously, but it's been quite a few years. And then I think the main thing, especially in their little ILH circle, it's like you don't want to let the other ILH school continue their reign over a particular sport, in this being boys basketball. But here is what head coach of the Punahou Buff and Blue, Darren Matsuda, had to say, and after him you will hear from Dane Keller to think about it. Dane Keller, their leading scorer from that game. So here's head coach Darren Matsuda.
Well, I mean, just the win is just an incredible feeling, and especially for this team, because 2 weeks ago, like I said, none of us believed we would even be here. And the bigger lesson is the life lessons we had on this journey. I mean, they know that adversity makes you, it doesn't break you. And I think them finishing the season how we did is something that they're always going to remember, something they'll carry with them the rest of their lives. I'm just really proud of them, proud of the team and proud of our staff, and just sticking with it, fighting and going through. For St. Louis, man, hats off to them. It's to win 3 in a row is unbelievable in any level. They're great champions, and we were fortunate to get this one. But I mean, hats off to those guys for the run they had.
What about defensively, the job you guys did? Held them to 35%, 40 points, held Pupu to 9.
Yeah, we made some adjustments at halftime. I mean, they were the right adjustments. Our coaching staff did a really good job of getting together, trying to figure stuff out, trying to make the adjustments. I mean, Steve has said, let's go zone. And I go, okay, we haven't done zone all year, but let's do it. And we've actually practiced it just in case we got into the situation. And we never practice zone, but we practiced it for this game, and it worked. And so, it was, and that's what a collaborative coaching staff and the coaching staff does. They work together.
You've been the head guy for many Punahou championship teams, right? And different eras, different generations. How would you categorize this year's group?
You know, it's very similar in terms of the group. It's very similar to our past championship teams, where they put team first. They really enjoy each other, and that's a key component of any championship team, that they really love each other, and that they're willing to put team first. And these kids did a great job of that. You know, we saw that in the summer, really, and just the sharing of the ball, and how they get along, and how they bounce back from adversity. I mean, that was, you know, and it's kind of funny because sometimes a group's loose and you're like, okay, are they ready? Are they ready? And this group's really loose and they're really relaxed no matter what the circumstance. So we were pretty happy with this group, definitely.
Dane Kellner, he scored 11 of his 13 in that second half, 6 or 7 from the field. Played 31 minutes.
Dane did incredibly awesome today. It was funny because Dane's defensive assignment was Kalen. I said, you know, you're going to have a great game today. I go, but I thought it was going to be on the defense end, and he did play well defensively, but he gave me a great game offensively too. Just attacking, you know, living up to the moment, rising to the moment, hit some key shots, and I'm really proud of him and happy for him. I mean, in a big game, he really played awesome for us, and that, you know, that really contributed greatly to our win.
You give credit, you know, you talk about fun, and then you also mentioned the coaching staff being collaborative, and sometimes in high school sports, that's kind of hard to find, where there's not that ego. I mean, there probably is some, but you guys can find a way to work out. I mean, even for you, right? You've been doing this for a long time, and you're not as stressed as I've seen you in the past. So just kind of put into words, just encompassing everything. I think just, you know, we as a coach, you preach team, and if you're going to have a good team, you got to have a good staff, and that staff has to be a good team too. And that's, you know, in anything you do, in any corporation, any successful business, you're going to have a good team. And I think the key is trying to put everybody's egos aside and try to work for the common goal. And I think we did a great job of that this year.
And that was Punahou boys basketball head coach Darren Matsuda following their state championship win last Friday over St. Louis. Now here's their leading scorer from that game, junior guard Dane Kellner.
I think you were 6 or 7 tonight, 11 of your 13 in the second half. You guys hit a couple threes in that third quarter. What kind of got you guys going there?
I think on the defensive end, we were locking up. Our 2-3 worked pretty well. And then on the offensive side, we were just moving the ball well. You mentioned 6 or 7. A lot of that was just because they were layups. I had to shout out my guys because they were looking for me on cuts and stuff, so it made it easy. We were sharing the ball a lot. So yeah, I think that's what helped us come back.
Yeah, how were you able to run your sets in that kind of, you know, pressure pack situation, title game against the defending champs?
We weren't really running as many sets as we normally do. We found that just our regular motion, we were in a good flow. We had good chemistry, so we were just trying to get attacks, kicks, and ball screens, all that kind of stuff. So not too many sets.
St. Louis, they've been at the top of the mountain for a long time. Talk about kind of the journey you guys got to dethrone them in. You guys are missing Scanlon, so you guys definitely had some adversity. So talk about everything that went into this whole culmination.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely hurt. Our best scorer being out, but we've played these guys like 3 times before. So, I mean, the more you play them, you get to know them better. So I think we just we practiced hard. We attacked their weaknesses, and like I said, we just played really good defense, I think, today.
Kind of take us through that last defensive sequence there with Chance and got that 3-pointer, what you saw?
So we're up by 3. Main thing in the timeout before, we were just saying, main thing is don't foul. We don't want to give up any stupid fouls, give them 3 free throws. We said if they get inside the 3-point line, just let them go, and anything else, just hard contest, and that's what we did well. So.
St. Louis, they got off to an early lead, but you guys kind of flipped the switch in that second half. What was the difference, or what was said at halftime?
Halftime, we were focusing on defense a lot. That helped us get back. I mean, it wasn't a high-scoring game, so I think our defense is kind of what won us the game. But yeah, I mean, on offense, we were just slowing down. We took good shots. We didn't rush anything. So, yeah.
Dude, the way the end of the game played out with Houston hitting a couple free throws, you guys get back in your stance, play good D on their three-point shot. Did it feel at all like last night against University at the end of that game?
Definitely. Houston, probably the best free throw shooter on our team. So once I saw them foul him and he walked up to the line, I felt super confident. I know he did too. So yeah, I was kind of getting deja vu to the last game, but yeah, I was super confident in him.
Pupu, he's the guy that would just go in the paint and grab rebounds, get what he wants. But today you guys matched the physicality. Kind of talk about that and you guys just wanting this big title.
I want to give a shout out to Nahua Lloyd. He stepped up in states. We put him in to stop the bigs. He plays great defense, gets boards, so he was helping. Even our guards getting rebounds. We were just focusing on boxing out today. Everybody's crashing. So yeah.
And that was Dane Kellner from the Punahou boys basketball team, who led the Buff and Blue in scoring in their championship win over St. Louis on Friday night, putting up 13 points. And as you mentioned, the Buff and Blue able to hold up defensively against St. Louis. One of the best players just not only on St. Louis, but of course in the state. And Pupu Sepulona held Pupu to just 9 points in that game. And everybody stepping up. And they were, you kind of heard it right there, Michael Escarrow saying Punahou being without one of their best players in Tanoa Scanlon. So able to, again, topple the Kings or the former Kings of Division I boys basketball in St. Louis to claim the D1 crown. And I want to go back again to give a shout out to Seabury for winning their first championship in boys basketball as they captured the Division II title, beating Hawaii Prep 49-33. And mainly want to make sure we share their photo here on our YouTube channel of Seabury and posing with the trophy there. So again, congratulations to both those squads for their state championship wins. Got to take a break. When we come back, want to continue our high school state championship conversation and let you know who won in wrestling as well. So want to make sure we give credit to a lot of the high school student athletes competing there over the weekend. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
No.
Wake up in the den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to all of you, the beautifulest of all the beautiful people. It's Wake Up in the Den. Alongside Paul Brecht, I'm Ku'ulei Agbayani, and this is the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM, AM 760, and on hawaiisportsradio.com. HHSAA.com, and also streaming live on our YouTube channel like we do every Monday. So thank you to you guys for tuning in, or even if you're going to watch on demand a little later or listen, we appreciate you guys, and that is why you are the beautiful list of all the beautiful people. And don't be shy. You can always jump in there to the live chat and have conversations with our friend Caesar. That is, we love how much he tunes in and is very a staple in our live chat. But you guys can also text us at 808-888-KG1. That's 808-888-5481 if you're not in the YouTube, but you want to still get in on the conversation as well.
Yeah, I can't believe I forgot to even connect. Yeah, see, a shout out to Seabury Hall and to Caesar, and represent for Maui. And what an awesome season for them. I wrote about it a little bit, a storybook year, 1 year after falling in the game, in which they had a very similar season, except couldn't quite finish the deal. And now 1 year later, they are finally able to do so. And the first state championship in program history. Once again, congratulations to them. In case you missed that conversation, that was our last segment. You can catch that on demand as well. We'll talk more about, and yeah, of course, Punahou as well. Shout out to them and overcoming the adversity that that faced them going into the postseason, I suppose. I don't know. It's like funny because we're OIA folks,
well,
so
it's
I
just
like
funny
sit
to
here
say
and I'm
adversity and private school in like the same sentence, but we get
it's
it.
true.
It's fine.
And it's like they beat St. Louis, who was like the final boss of the private schools type thing. So it's like fine, but also it's like I was far more happy to watch Seabury Hall finally get over the hump and finally get there and do it, and the emotions that you saw. Not that it wasn't an emotional night for Punahou. It absolutely was. They broke. I mean, there's the most state championships and state history on the basketball court. Blah 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 blah. All of those things. It was really cool to see the emotion of the coaching staff, the players, the parents, the fans, all of them in attendance as they realized, oh my God, it's here. We actually did it. It was really, really cool. So, yes, shout out to Maui, shout out to Caesar, shout out to Seabury Hall. And, we'll continue to talk about state champions now, right?
Yes, exactly. And we want to bring it back to our OIA friends, of course. And congratulations to Moanalua girls wrestling. They won the state championship for the team wrestling. And second, though, another OIA school in Pearl City High School. So Moanalua finishes up on top, followed by Pearl City. And at third is Kamehameha School's Kapalama. And in fourth, another Maui school. There you go. Baldwin and Punahou rounded out the top five on the girls' side again in the wrestling state championships that happened on Saturday. And then going over to the boys' side, Kamehameha School's Kapalama takes it all for the boys' wrestling state championships, followed by Pearl City also. And then third was Moanalua, St. Louis at 4, and Baldwin rounding out the top 5 on the boys' side for the state championship wrestling. I also want to give a shout out to Tiger Nam. He is the, we talked about in basketball how Pupu Sapalona could have won and St. Louis 4 state titles in a row. Well, Tiger Nam winning, or could have Tiger Tam winning his 4th state title in wrestling in the 144 bracket. So
not bad.
Closing out his high school career, winning all state championships and out of Moanalua High School, of course. So there you go. I mean, Moanalua and their wrestling program there, like, nah, Menehune, I mean, that's good or what? We talk about that as well. And our friend Nat, I know she posted on her social media that it was kind of like a bittersweet full circle moment where she is moving out of working for the HHSAA and now is an assistant athletics director at Moanalua. And it's her with the Moanalua girls, that is her first like a team state championship for Moanalua. So that's pretty cool.
It's the Nat effect.
Yeah. Good
Clearly.
job, Nat. She did that, yeah.
I love it. No, shout out to all the state champions in wrestling. And that's one that's, I have a lot of respect for wrestlers. Obviously, I was a basketball player. If you look at me, I don't think you're like, oh, that guy's a wrestler. But I had a lot of friends who wrestled, and the work that goes into it to even be able to compete, the cutting of weight, the ability to have the stamina to go around, and all of the things that it takes to even be able to compete, let alone be good, let alone be state champion worthy. is truly, truly incredible. So shout out to all of you lovely, lovely folks who were able to get to the top of your weight classes and prove that, hey, I'm number one.
It's pretty awesome, though. Wrestling is cool. I always wanted to do judo. So if I had to choose like a martial art, like that was kind of the one on top of MMA. Obviously, you guys know I'm an MMA girl and I love MMA. But like when in your youth days, I think judo was the one that I was actually kind of interested in and potentially doing, but never actually got into martial arts except for old school local style where my dad just teaches me how to box using the slippers. So holding up the slippers on his palm and teaching me how to do like the little 1-2 and like the hook and the uppercut and all of that stuff. So that's probably the scope of my learning how to fight in a sense and learning how to throw leg kicks when I was working at UFC, kind of learning a little bit of everything. But yeah, never dabbled in wrestling at all except for what I guess you just learn from watching the enough MMA and grappling for fun with your friends. Whether that was entirely sober, but hey, I won. I won because I said I won. Also, something pretty cool that I wanted to mention that happened on Saturday. Well, Saturday and Sunday, the Seattle Seahawks hosted a girls flag football clinic. As we know, girls flag football, becoming a sanctioned high school sport here in Hawaii. So that's pretty cool. It starts up next month. We will have quite a few broadcasts for you guys that we will bring you. I believe our first one is March 25th. I have to double check on the date. It's the Tuesday. It's the first official day of OIA play for girls flag football. So that was pretty cool. A lot of the girls, obviously not everyone has ever played organized flag football with the rules. So these free clinics were hosted where they could go and just learn different things because it's all skill levels, right? Like maybe someone that's never really played organized sports before. I've told you guys before, like I've never played up until high school. I had never played organized basketball before. And by organized, I mean, like be part of a team, learn the positions and run plays and everything like that. My basketball experience was just going to the park and playing basketball with the boys. So I think that's pretty cool for a girls flag football because I had to like learn on the fly, like organized basketball. Like, all right, this is the different positions. I didn't even think I was going to make the team. And then next thing you know, I'm actually playing. So that was kind of okay, I guess I got to learn stuff now. But I think that's really awesome that a lot of these free clinics are being held leading up to the season because you could just have a lot of these girls that are interested, potentially like either played soccer or other sports, but the rules are different, right? And they're different from the normal football that we watch on television. So this is nice. And it kind of could potentially make it a lot easier on some of the first year coaches. So maybe some of the girls will come in with a little bit more experience and everything, and the clinics were free. So I thought that was really awesome that like all of these things are being held because there's only so much they can learn from coaches. And some of these coaches never coached flag football before either. So I love that from the NFL to just the community here in Hawaii are all coming together to try to make this sport highly successful and make the transition that much easier for a lot of these girls, whether they're playing the sport for a sport or an organized sport for the first time. Shout out to all of you that are so brave to just jump into this sport and maybe potentially play an organized sport for the first time in your life, or some of the other girls coming in from other sports that don't necessarily know any other rules in flag football, because I barely know any other rules in flag football either. That's something I have to learn ahead of our broadcast that we're going to give you. So I have a month to learn all of the flag football rules. Fortunately, I have Kyle Galdera that's doing the play-by-play, and he quite literally is going to classes to learn the rules for the referee side. So, but no, I just wanted to make sure we mention that and give a shout out and to everyone that's helping to make this first year successful and give all of these free opportunities for the student athletes to kind of get acclimated to the sport before the actual like season and stuff starts. Like that's really, really exciting, and it warms my heart so much that these opportunities there exist for these young female student athletes. And I'm a little jelly, but you know what? Like it better now than never. So that's pretty cool, and I'm looking forward to our coverage of flag football on Hawaii Sports Radio Network, presented by our amazing sponsors that support all of this, especially when it comes to women's sports, Hawaii Pacific Health. So we'll have I know we'll definitely have the OIA championship, obviously, and I think throughout the regular season we'll probably we'll bring you at least 4 games throughout the season. Again, no television for any of these games until the state championship, I believe. Maybe OIA. I got to ask Felipe again. But other than that, regular season, we're here on Hawaii Sports Radio Network, and we are excited. But no, I wanted to make sure I kind of went on that little tangent to just give a shout out to everybody who is contributing to what will be a very exciting. From what I've heard, we've got some talent in the flag football realm, so I am looking forward to it.
Have you seen these athletes? Cool. I've watched these young women play across these other sports, and my jaw always seems to drop by the end of the night. I can only imagine in flag football where some of these athletes are going to be able to show off their talent, their skills in ways that they've never been able to before, and it's going to create so many new opportunities. I'm really excited. It's going to be so much fun. I hope to see you beautiful people out there supporting. If not, I hope we have you listening in. That's how it grows, and it's cool to see the Seahawks chipping in, helping out, grow it as well before the inaugural season here in the islands.
All right, we got to take a break, our last break of the show, so don't go anywhere. We'll be back to close it out here on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
Fun. Back to more Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
It's Wake Up in the Den on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network. Ku'ulei Agbayani and Paul Brecht. Hope you guys are awake by now as we're coming up on 10 o'clock. But yes, thank you for tuning in this and every weekday morning from 8 to 10, or listening or watching on demand as well at hawaiisportsradio.com or on our YouTube channel. Giving a shout out to our guy, Michael Escaro. He was out at football practice this morning, so we will have some UH football updates for you guys throughout the week. Again, their spring event is on Sunday, March 9th, but additional details to be announced. But we were talking about girls flag football in the previous segment and how the Seahawks are hosted the free clinics over the weekend. And this one made me chuckle that Michael sent in our group chat that the Seahawks trying to use Hawaii as their farm system to replace Gino at quarterback. And you know what? Hey, I wouldn't put it past some of these young ladies here in Hawaii to maybe make themselves notice there. They're better than Geno Smith. I'm just going to put it out there.
I was going to say, after watching Jaron Caves on the pool, I'm ready to see what these ladies have on the other side, because we didn't just have Jaron. Obviously, look down the list. You got Tama. You got all of them. And I'm like, hey, if the boys can sling the rock around the field like this, What's to say the ladies can do some impressive stuff as well? No, it's going to be really, really fun. Once again, shout out to the Seattle Seahawks for their support of Hawaii high school girls flag football.
I mean, think about it though. Like when you look at the future, and Hawaii being one of the earlier states, because it's nowhere near being a high school sport in the entire country, right? So Hawaii very much kind of like at the forefront at this point, which is crazy to say because we're usually like the last ones on board. But imagine like the Olympics are coming around and it's a sanctioned sport. I'm sure in no time there could be professional women's leagues in flag football. So we talk a lot about how it's cool to see a lot of players from Hawaii in football. Who's to say maybe within the next 10 years there will be a professional flag football players from Hawaii. So that's pretty cool to think about. And we're going to mark it right there on this day, February 24th, 2025, that within the next 10 years, we will see professional flag football players out of the state of Hawaii, which will be pretty insane to think about. But that's really, really, really cool. Honestly.
It's super cool. You kind of mentioned it, right? Where we talk about Hawaii isn't always at the forefront. So it's kind of cool to be amongst those who are kind of leading the pack, leading the charge with this sport. And, we went through it. It's like the first new girls sport in 20 years in Hawaii and so on and so forth. This is a big time. This is a big moment and a big opportunity for a lot of people to enter their names into a sphere that is going to continue to grow. I'm over here looking up, trying to find just other states. Let's see. According to the HHSAA, 12 state associations have sanctioned girls flag football, according from their August 19th write-up. So, what? Basically a fifth? A little over a fifth of the 50 states. You're part of the first group. It's really, really cool. I'm excited to see what this first season brings. And just a reminder, we're there, guys.
I know. And let me clarify, because Michael is like 10 years. No, we'll have someone in Hawaii in 2028 Olympics. Yes, I agree with you, but my 10-year margin was referring to the fact that there will likely be a professional girl or women's flag football league within the next 10 years. And we're going to be talking about Hawaii athletes being in that professional league within the next 10 years. Like we talk about all of the male football players being in the NFL, the same will trickle down to the flag football side because that'll take some time to actually create a league. But we see leagues start up. But yes, I agree with you with the Olympics thing. But the 10 years was the
New York is on this list too. We need a New York Hawaii bowl game immediately, folks. We need the Paul Brecht flag football.
I also want to now that to wrap up have a fun little have fun the next couple of minutes, because something else that Michael put in our text group text right here. We were talking in the earlier segment about how I did a little bit of MMA. I really wanted to get into judo, but when I was working at UFC Gym, kind of was just around the MMA life, so did a lot of kickboxing and just regular boxing and stuff. And my dad growing up teaching me how to box by just holding up the slippers, because we didn't have actual mitts, so I'm just punching barehanded, learning how to do the combos, the 1-2 combos and your uppercuts. And I have a pretty mean right hook, by the way. I'm really heavy handed, so I can punch pretty darn hard. But Michael is saying, who secretly pulls hair when she fights? I'm like, no. And I find that offensive. Thank you very much. Because if there's one thing that my dad did teach me early on, because I told you guys before that I got bullied in high school, and it was more typical girl bullying, talking a lot of smack, saying all these mean things, word getting around. And my dad was like, well, if she ever wants to fight you, I got to teach you how to defend yourself. And and my dad was very much don't be the bully. You don't pick. He's like, if you pick on anybody, you are going to get grounded, and I'm going to pick on you. Don't be the bully. But if someone starts fight with you, you better win. So he's kind of the one, I think if I ever, there's Michael. I think if I ever got into an actual fight, but I didn't start it and I won, I think my dad would have been giving me a fist bump. But anyways, no, I do not pull hair, as Michael Liscaro alluded to, because my dad was he specifically said, don't pull hair, don't go for the hair. And then he's like, if she tries to pull your hair, then yeah, you grab her head and then you knee her in the gut. We went through this whole thing. So no, Dad would be very disappointed, and I was taught not to pull hair, Michael. So I do not pull hair when I fight, and I don't get into. I've never been into an actual fight ever in my life.
Boo,
fortunately, I know. Just your
boo.
typical soccer field, like, oh, I probably hit her a little harder than I meant to because she was being So.
Shout out to my Ithaca College club men's basketball team. We will always have our fights against Syracuse. It was an annual thing, and I mean fights. We did not like each other. That rivalry goes further than just sports broadcasting. It goes on the court, folks. So, no, it's a lot of fun.
Michael is like looking fresh too with his haircut.
He's all lined up over there and whatnot. He had to look good.
I don't know. He's trying to talk to us as if we're not on air.
I can hear something. People can see him on YouTube.
They can, but they can't hear him.
Just to close things out on the day. But yeah, don't mess with HSRN in a fight.
All right, we got to go for now. So for Paul Brecht, Michael Escaro here on the couch, I'm Ku'ule Agbayani. Mahalo for listening and watching. It's been Wake Up in the Den.